Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so happy that you are joining us today. Thank you so very, very much. We don't want you to miss a single episode of the podcast, so please be sure to subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. We have a fantastic guest for you today. His name is Elchanan Ogorek, and he is the author of a beautiful book called The Present is a Gift. You know, The Present is a Gift is all about being mindful and helping our kids to be mindful. And being mindful is one of the ways that we are going to make 2019 the best year ever. You know, the brightest moments of 2019 are going to start with you being mindful of your smallest choices. We want you to snack better. We want you to feel better, and we want you to be better every single day. And we think a great way for you to do that is to become a subscriber at readingwithyourkids.com/yummy, because that's where you can sign up for Love with Food. Love with Food. They're all about helping make every day better. And they're also about helping families in need. You know, if you become a subscriber to their great snack tasting program, every month they're going to send you a delicious box of really cool snacks for you to try and check out. I just received my snack box, and my daughter and I were just really enjoying exploring all these brand new tastes that we never would have found in the grocery store that we visit. I was checking out these like buffalo flavored almonds. They're amazing, really got a real kick to them, but they're really, really delicious. And my daughter's checking out a quinoa crisp. Who knows what delicious snacks your family is going to fall in love with by becoming a subscriber to Love with Food. And the best way to do it is by visiting our website, readingwithyourkids.com/yummy, readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. When you go there and you let the folks at Snack Nation know that you found out about them through us, well, they're going to support the podcast. And they're also going to give you 40% off your first purchase. Isn't that cool? And check this out. This is why we love Love with Food. For every box delivered, Love with Food donates a meal to a needy family. That's beautiful. Talk about a win for everybody. So please check it out today. readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. One more big announcement before we invite our guest in. We are so proud to announce that The Present is a Gift by Elchanan Ogorek is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. You're going to have a chance to read the full review on our website, on the readingwithyourkids.com website, but we just wanted you to know that our panel loves this book. They just love it. That is when I asked them for some specifics, they just said, we love it. We just love everything about this book. So we're working on the full review right now. It will be available on our blog, on the Reading with Your Kids blog. It should be up there by the time you're listening to this. It will be up there, and you should check it out. It's a fantastic book. Everyone on our panel gave it 5 stars. They absolutely love it, and you're going to love it too. It's the perfect book to add to your family library. The Present is a Gift, the latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Joining us on the line right now from Teaneck in New Jersey, one of my favorite places in the world. He is the author of a beautiful book called The Present is a Gift. Please welcome to the show, Elchanan Ogorek. Elchanan, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, Jed. Very excited to be on the show.
Did I do okay with the name?
Yes, you did.
Awesome. Well, why don't we begin by you telling us a little bit about what The Present is a Gift is all about?
So, The Present is a Gift is a loosely based story, which follows the idea of mindfulness. Mm-hmm. So it's a loosely based story of a teacher going out of the classroom and taking the students to view some mindful animals doing yoga poses. And then the teacher comes back to the classroom And on a blackboard, or now it's a smart board, but I have a blackboard in my book. They bring back the teacher brings back some of the lessons learned. So it's not really like a proper story. There's not really a main character. The idea really is for lessons to be learned by the reader. It's my first animal is a sloth. And sloths take their time, so every animal has an informative fact. So sloths move so slowly that bugs create homes in their fur. And the idea that we can benefit from connections, we can benefit from taking our time, from moving slowly. And then the mindfulness affirmation is, I will take my time and not rush through this moment. And the sloth is doing child's pose, right? And it's not a perfect form, and every animal is doing a certain pose, but not a perfect form. And the idea behind that is we're not perfect, right? And we view these things, and the idea is to get some direction or to be inspired, but not to seek perfection. Yeah.
Perfect. You know, Elchanan and I, we had this wonderful conversation before the show started, and we've both spent some time down in Central America. And one of the things that was so cool while I was down in Panama this past summer was meeting sloths. And they really are these just cool, chill, mellow animals. It's I'm sitting there like going, dude, I wish I could be that chill and relaxed.
Yeah. Jed, I love that. I love that you share that story. You know, the idea really is for people reading the book to form connections or to what's in the book. So if it's about the animal, if it's about mindfulness, if it's just a yoga pose, like I love that you're sharing that.
Well, the people, anybody who's listened to the show understands that I make all sorts of connections. Some of them are really weird, and some of them are really hard for people to kind of make the same connection that I make. But I agree. I think it is really important, and I think that's making connections is so beneficial to us, and it's so beneficial to the world. You know, that game that was popular a few years ago, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon or something like that. Yeah. I just think it's if we take the time to see how connected we are, then that kind of helps peel away some of the fear that we may have. And, you know, you and I were speaking about going to different countries where you and I obviously aren't native to. And the fact that sometimes you need to kind of put yourself out there and take chances and just kind of be confident that we'll just make connections with our humanity. And that served me well.
Yeah. We also talked about sort of following along the idea with the sloth. The mindfulness concept behind it is not rushing through the moment. So and we before the show when we were talking, we talked about putting yourself out of your comfort zone. So the sloth also is supposed to give over the idea that sometimes we're going to be in situations which we don't necessarily feel so comfortable with, but it's important to sort of be in that moment and not try to run away from it because you're in that moment. Or even on the flip side, even if you're having a really good time, right? If you're really having a good time in the moment and the whole time you're in that moment, you're thinking, I don't want to lose this moment. I don't want to lose this moment. You're going to miss out because you're not focusing on it. So that jumps into another animal in my story is a turtle, and every animal in my story helps sort of give over the mindfulness idea. So I have the turtle is doing a plank pose. So it has its arms out, its legs out, and it's laying on its shell. And the informative fact is that some turtles could stick their heads in their shells. And the mindfulness concept is I will focus on this moment. I will focus fully on this moment. And that sort of connects the idea also is that you want to sort of take your time. You want to just be in that moment, focus on that. All right. And then just fully focus on it. Try not to be distracted by different thoughts, and that goes into another animal in my book is a cat. And the informative fact about a cat is that cats, on average, sleep 16 to 18 hours a day, which is a lot of time.
A lot of time.
And the mindfulness concept is to let thoughts come and go, right? So not to hold on to thoughts. So there's an idea in mindfulness about a conveyor belt. There's visualizing a conveyor belt. The thoughts coming in and then they're continuing on. So not holding on to that to help you focus on this moment. And I also have, a wolf doing downward dog. I have a seal doing boat pose, and the seal's mindfulness idea concept is to fully accept yourself, right? And the informative fact is that there's a layer of flubber that protects it, that keeps it warm in frigid waters. So the idea is that it's formed a way to be comfortable in its environment. And before the show, we talked about, you being really good at visiting schools, and it's a really big part of your life, and that's so awesome. And I've done a couple of school visits and I love them. And one of the school visits I was in a fourth grade, New York City public school, and I asked the students to share ideas, their own ideas about what they thought about the book or different connections. So this one girl said that I recently was diagnosed with diabetes, and I'm learning to accept that. I'm learning to accept that I have a diagnosis and I have to watch myself. And that to me was one of these moments that was so powerful, to know that that student was able to make that personal connection to the book. And the seal is all about accepting. So mindfulness also is about not trying to run away from the moment that you're in or the situation that you're in, is trying to fully accept it, however uncomfortable you feel. So just making that connection myself, that was really powerful. Yeah. I also have, I have a squirrel, right? But one of the animals that I have is a frog, and a big idea of mindfulness is the belly breathing. So I worked with Jen, through the website called Fiverr, and she helped me, I collaborated with her, and we came up with a physical frog that has a replaceable balloon as a belly, and I created it with the idea that teachers and parents could show it to kids when they're maybe feeling excited, or they need to maybe calm down, or maybe they're feeling frustrated and having a hard time calming down. So what I do with my son is I always say to my older son Leo, I say, what does mindful froggy do? And he breathes in fully, then breathes out. And what I love about his practice also, I do the same, is that his practice is imperfect, and it's not about being perfect. It's about making those connections. So I use the frog, the frog is doing frog pose. But I use the frog because I think it really helps visualize. Like if kids look at frogs and they can imagine the belly getting bigger, and that's sort of, a big part of mindfulness again is sort of really fully taking those breaths. So
fascinating. There's so much there to kind of talk about and connections. One of the things we've talked about a lot here on the show is helping kids become comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. And there's some kids that get it. My son had really hard time kind of understanding that. My daughter was able to kind of really make that connection quickly. Both of us like to go in, work out, and when I'm at the gym, I am it looks like I came out of the shower, and I am like that, and it's gross, and I'm like that for an hour, and both of us just go, well, yep, I've just learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's what gets me through that. And there's a lot of situations in life where we're uncomfortable. And most of the times it's when we're getting ready to make the most growth, when we're outside of that comfort zone and we're taking risks. And for some kids for some grown-ups, that is such a hard concept to kind of wrap your head around. I don't want to be uncomfortable. No way. No, I want to stay right here, and I'm okay right now. I don't need to grow anymore. And that's I kind of feel sad when I hear that from folks.
Right. I would say, using your example of being in the gym, I don't view that as like being like you just looked like you came out of the shower. You might present that way. But if I saw you, I would say this guy is fully focused. He's so focused on what he's doing. And I think that us being parents, a big part of being parents is being role models. But I think that what's also important is a concept of mindfulness is that we're all learning with a child's mind. And I really connect to that idea because we're always learning. A lot of kids are seeking to be amazing at this, amazing at that. A lot of adults also. But I try to remind myself that I'm never going to be, I might be really amazing at something, but I'm never going to be perfect. And there's always going to be an opportunity for a moment where I'm going to say, maybe I should rethink this. Maybe I should reevaluate. And one of the animals in my book is a squirrel doing a chair pose. And the informative fact is that the squirrel's front teeth continuously grow throughout their lives so that they can continue to scavenge for food. And the mindfulness idea behind that is to be curious and non-judgmental. So when we're in moments is to fully focus on that moment, but also be curious about the sensations that you're feeling. Are you feeling uncomfortable? As opposed to just trying to hide that, identify that, and understand why are you feeling uncomfortable? Are you feeling uncomfortable because you feel like you're being followed, right? Do you feel uncomfortable because you feel like you're going to start yelling? Like what is going on? But it's not to judge yourself. It's really to sort of understand. And I think that, emotional awareness is a challenge. I struggle with that sometimes. I have young boys, and sometimes I'm thinking, why don't they understand this? This is an easy concept. But to them, because they're so young, they don't always understand that. I started with this whole idea is years ago I was working in a mental health day program, and I was introduced to mindfulness, and I started bringing it into groups because I'm a social worker, and in this program, I was a group facilitator and individual caseworker. And part of what happens is people who have certain diagnoses, there's a self-stigma, right? There's this sort of this hyper-focus on how they view themselves, how other people view them. And this guy came into one of my semesters, and we talked about being non-judgmental and not beating yourself up, right? Not beating yourself up and letting thoughts sort of come and go. And we practiced some other stuff. And then he came back for a second semester, and I asked him, what motivated you to come back? He said, because I really like those ideas of not judging yourself. And I'm somebody who I beat myself up, and I have to learn not to. And that was also another moment that was, wow, that was amazing. And then years ago, I also got turned on to yoga by my friend Yoel. At first, I heard about yoga, and I'm like, is that a real workout? But then once I started doing it, I loved it. I thought that it was just such an amazing practice. There's really no judgment there. I've had teachers in yoga studios come over to me, and they would just be like, you're good. And I would start laughing because there's some poses that are just impossible for me. I have a friend who can do headstands easy, and I've tried it, and I just laughed at myself, and that's okay. So I love that. And The Present is a Gift is my second book. My first book is actually A's, B's, C's, Oh My. So my first book was it's a story about it's a loosely based story also. It's the alphabet. And every letter has an animal connected to it. So D is for dolphin. Dolphins love riding waves for fun. So I created my first book for my son Leo, who's 3 now. And I wanted to create a second book for my son Oliver. So the ideas of mindfulness, and yoga, these are things that I've always, I've been doing for a long time, as I shared. So I was just thinking, like, it'd be really good to bring in. Also, when I was a kid, some days were really tough, and I would just go upstairs to my room and draw. I was never a good artist. I worked with, I connect with my book, The Present is a Gift. I connected with an amazing graphic designer and illustrator team, Jorge and Hilario, and they took my art and took it to another level, but they respected it all the way through. So I was always drawing. When I was younger, I used to fully focus on what I was doing and what I was drawing or writing and canceling out everything else. And that's an idea of mindfulness, is really focusing on the moment. So I think this book, The Present is a Gift, really sort of brings that all together. And I just love the idea of being able to share mindfulness with people, and hopefully people connect with the yoga poses also.
Yeah. One of the questions I have is that it's tough for a lot of grown-ups to kind of wrap their head around the whole mindfulness thing. A lot of people will kind of go, oh, yeah, that's kind of that woo-woo stuff. And do kids embrace it quicker than adults?
I would say kids are more in the moment. Mm-hmm. I think that the emotional awareness is maybe something that they could focus on. I have a lot of informal connections with kids. I think that what we are seeing is, I've seen somewhere where there is evidence where students who practice mindfulness are less anxious, less depressed. They're really being able to identify their feelings, sort of connecting their thoughts with their feelings, and sort of also taking that time, taking a break from the day. My book, and I'm bringing this book as a parent. I wrote these books for my parents. So from a formal sense, I don't really, I work with adults. Mm-hmm. I don't work with kids. But, I'm around a lot of kids, nieces and nephews, and years ago I was a guidance counselor for middle school kids, and I noticed a lot of the frustration, and we used to just talk it out, do some breathing, stuff like that. So I think also the idea of kids learning how to body scan, sort of identifying what they're feeling, where this tightness is. So I can't say exactly, because I don't have that. I'm not a teacher, mm-hmm. So I'm not in the class with kids every day. I want to be honest, but with my son, I came home today and he said to me, today in school we practiced mindful froggy. We went outside and we took deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And I think that, kids being able to take a break, mm-hmm. to take that pause is really helpful. Sort of, tangentially answering your question is something that, we're doing with Leo, my older son, is, we're trying to encourage healthy eating. So, when he eats a cucumber, he loves cucumbers, he says to us, okay, everybody quiet. And he chews on the cucumber and you hear the loud crunch, and he loves it, and we reinforce that. My younger son, Oliver, just started walking, and you encourage that, and you raise, and you clap and he starts clapping. So hopefully, they're learning to really focus on the little things, focus on Oliver responding to our clapping, he's happy, he's saying that, taking those little steps literally, is pretty big and exciting. Mm-hmm. Leo chewing on that crunchy cucumber reminds him about the importance of appreciating what you're eating, about focusing on that, not just, taking food down. And what's amazing about, teaching these things to our kids is that we're reminded about ourselves also.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to make one slight correction, and don't feel bad because a lot of people forget about this. You said you're not a teacher, and I always like to remind parents that you are your kid's most important teacher. And and parents, a lot of times teachers go, well, there are some parents out there that are terrible, and I go, well, they're still the most important teachers. They're teaching terrible lessons, but they're still the most important teachers. And I love also what you're saying about connections. And I think if we teach our kids about the different connections that we have, and especially one of the things that my son had such a hard time with, and he still does, and he's 25 and he just got married. But for a long time, he would have these terrible migraine headaches. And I would say to him, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that you've been playing video games for an hour and a half? No, nothing to do with that at all. No, okay, so he deals with it and he gets better, and then a couple of days later it's like, oh, I have another headache. And what were you doing right before the headache? No, it has nothing to do with that. And it's not just kids, it's adults. They go, oh, I feel terrible. My stomach is upset. And I'm like, well, what did you eat? Oh, the same thing I ate the last time I felt, so if we take the time to be mindful, to be aware of what we're doing, it can really help us make better choices and live happier lives.
Something that I try to do, and I think that you talking about your son who spends some time playing video games. I think that we're in a place right now where we're all very much a lot of us are connected to our phones all the time, right? We're always there. So what I try doing is when I come home at night, one of the things that I do is I do the dishes, and I try putting my phone down and focusing fully on doing the dishes. So scrubbing those dishes, focusing on, is it a fork? Is it a bowl? And then if my thoughts sort of drift away, bring them back. But there's a reason that it needs to drift. My mind just needs to relax from everything. So, but one of the most important things that I really try doing is I try actively, and it's very hard to put my phone down and to focus on these little things, washing dishes, focusing on those little things. So, your son playing an hour and a half, of video games, it doesn't sound like so much, but I think that we all spend a lot of time on our phones and that screen time. And they have this whole thing now where you have that blue light filter on your phone at night, because it's messing with our sleep rhythms. I don't know how much evidence there is behind that, but, there's something to it.
Yep. Yeah. Now, before we go, just one last question. Do you think, we're talking about technology. Do you think technology is making it more challenging for kids to make connections with others and to be mindful of themselves and to really appreciate that the present is a gift?
That's a great question. I think that our smartphones give us an opportunity for escape. I think that things like the internet is an amazing thing, but like anything else, if it's uncontrolled, it's used as a place to escape, or you sort of get lost in it. Raise your hand if you have ever watched a YouTube video and then an hour later
down that rabbit hole.
An hour later, you don't know where you went, but you sort of went on a YouTube adventure. So I think that, if we practice more mindfulness, if we practice more about appreciating the moment and sort of understanding or paying attention more to our thoughts and feelings, we can have more of that control. So I don't think, internet is a good or bad thing, or our smartphones. I think that it's an amazing thing. I think that we just have to have more control over it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, if folks want to learn more about you and more about your books, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
So, I have a Facebook page, The Present is a Gift 81. I was born in 1981, so it's The Present is a Gift 81. My books are also on Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, various other places. I would say that going back, making the connection to smartphones, if you go on Amazon on a desktop, or if you go on a mobile phone, but view Amazon on the desktop site as opposed to the mobile site, you can see some inside pages and get a sense of what it's like.
Yeah, and those illustrations really are cool, and it's a wonderful, wonderful book. I think it would be a great gift for any grandparent or uncle or aunt to give to their loved ones in their life, and I think it's a great book to add to your family library. The name of the book is The Present is a Gift. We've been talking to the author, Elchanan Ogorek. Tonight, Elchanan, thank you so much for being part of our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're going to be interviewing the author of Dogs versus Ice Cream. That's right, Dogs versus Ice Cream. Diana London is going to be our guest. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, if you are the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it is absolutely free. And it gives you the opportunity to tell the world about your fantastic children's book. Imagine this, you have 15, 20, 25 minutes to tell the world about a subject you are the absolute expert on, your great children's book. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and all you need to do is to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button, let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. Hey, we would love to thank and congratulate Elchanan Ogorek for being our guest today. We want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by being present with your kids and reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.